It began with a voicemail. Not from a person, it's from a radio telescope. The observatory in Murchison, Australia, it's an automated facility. Its dishes sweeping the sky 24/7. Hunting signals too weak, too fast, or too strange for human ears. One night in April, at precisely 0 o'clock UTC, a 6-second audio clip was recorded, processed, and then, without human prompt, sent via internal email to every staff member. No metadata, no origin coordinates, just a subject line. Reply, received. The audio file was labeled signal_01.wav. And in those 6 seconds, a sequence of 4 tones. But when run through a spectrogram, the team found something else. Not waves, words. We only speak when you stop. A physicist on the team, Dr. Niharagan, stayed behind to reanalyze the data. She isolated the frequencies, played them backwards, nothing unusual. But when she amplified the second harmonic, layered with the ambient cosmic background, her speakers clicked, and a whisper came through, not digital, not pre-recorded. Live. She froze. The voice said only one thing. You've heard us before. You just don't remember what you gave up. Then the file deleted itself. Not just from her system. From the backup drives. From the cloud mirror. Even from her memory, until she read her own handwritten note the next morning. Do not play signal_02. Ever. There was no such file, at least not yet. 2 nights later, in a different hemisphere, a graduate student at MIT reported their smart speaker turning on by itself at 8 minutes past midnight. It played no music, no voice commands, just for tones, the same sequence. He searched his history, it's no record. But the power usage spike was there. He posted a clip online, and went viral before being taken down without warning. But not before one comment appeared, pinned by an anonymous account. Midnight is not a time, it's a door. Governments didn't respond, but telecommunications agencies began issuing updates to routers and satellites without public disclosure. And across amateur radio channels, a new term began to trend. The silent band, a range of frequencies that at midnight, when completely deadenly, deactivated exactly 0:06 UTC. Every night, for 6 seconds. No one dared broadcast into it, but not after the incident in Belarus. A ham radio operator, 72-year-old Alexander Vitskovich, recorded the signal and tried to rebroadcast it just once. Neighbors reported a power surge, and then, silence. His body was never found, his equipment was melted, but on his wall, scrawled in chalk, were 4 characters. Q26R. No one knew what it meant. Until 3 weeks later, when it arrived as the subject line of an unmarked USB in a package sent to Dr. Rajan, no return address. Just a sticky note. He broke the silence. Finish what you started. Side the drive. A new file. Signal_02.wav. The file was different. Signal_02.wav didn't behave like audio. Its file size wasn't fixed. It fluctuated, expanding and shrinking as if breathing. Dr. Rajan ran it through every tool. She knew spectrogram, FFT, sonogram, even analog conversion. All failed, until she noticed something in the hexadecimal structure. Q26 are not a coordinate, not a code. Query path meant to be executed. When she fed it into her archived waveform translator, a relic software used for Earth-Mars telemetry back in 2007, the screen glitched, and then blinked into black. White terminal text appeared. Response accepted. Stand by for integration. The lights in her lab flickered. Her screens dimmed to grayscale, and behind her the ancient speaker clicked again, but this time it didn't whisper. Hide. The exhale distorted the room. The ambient frequency dropped by 3 Hz, too low to notice, unless you were listening to your own heartbeat. Dr. Rajan was, and hers began to slow. Somewhere across the Atlantic, another listener, Chessie Om, a sound technician for a pirate podcast, discovered a dead air window at midnight, called it the gray slot. When you speak during those 6 seconds, your voice never records. But on playback, a new voice overlays yours, mimicking you, then changing what you said. Om released a sample to a dark web audio archive, but listeners complained. They didn't just hear the voice, they heard it say their own names. One woman claimed it repeated the exact words from a dream she had 12 years ago. word for word. Another uploaded a clip where the sound seemed to anticipate her next sentence before she even spoke. The audio was removed within the hour, but not before metadata was scraped. Q26R appeared again. In Tokyo, a corporate data center went offline for 6 minutes and 6 seconds. Nothing was missing. But in its internal logs across thousands of devices, the same terminal line appeared at the same timestamp. You had already agreed. No one knew what that meant. But satellite pings traced a signal bounce from the Arctic, near a decommissioned weather station. The station had no power, no antenna, but it had one working hard drive. And inside, one file. Signal_03.wav. Dr. Rajan didn't sleep. She tried to contain the files, isolating them on a Faraday drive. She turned off the network, cut the power. Yet somehow, at exactly midnight, her Bluetooth speakers clicked on by themselves. No file was active. No device nearby. Not yet there was audio. Not tones. Not voices. Just breathing. And beneath it, the unmistakable sound of typing. Someone was writing, using her words, finishing a sentence she hadn't spoken yet. The next day, a final package arrived. No sender, no return address, side a cassette tape. Labeled in faded ink, Q26R, room echo test, and a single photo. A blurry print of her office. Taken from the inside of her computer screen. The cassette wasn't blank. Shouldn't have worked. Rajan hadn't used a tape deck in over a decade. But there it was, humming softly in a borrowed Sony WMD6C from the archives. The kind engineers used in the Cold War. She pressed play. Static. A flutter of tape hiss. Then her own voice. Testing room 3A. This is Dr. Priya Rajan, signal containment log, Q26R. Echo test initiating. She froze. That wasn't possible. She never recorded that. The words matched her inner thoughts exactly, but she never said them aloud. The tape continued. Test 01 failed. Subject repeated sequence unprompted. No memory of agreement. Reclassification requested. Awaiting inaudible. Verdict. Then something new, a sound she couldn't identify. At first it resembled reversed rain, a kind of backward hissing. Then it started clicking, a dry, sharp rhythm, like knuckles tapping on glass from the inside. Her lights dimmed again. The room shifted, not in space, but in presence. It felt like someone had just walked in, but no door had opened. That night her laptop powered itself on. A new folder appeared, Greenman_reviewed inside, a single .txt file. You authorized the response on the 6th of April, 2012. Transcript below confirms consent. The file listed a log of a conversation, one she had no memory of. But every sentence was in her voice. It ended with a phrase typed in red font. You are the signal now. She pulled the battery. Smashed the laptop. Burned the tape. But when she walked past the mirror that evening, her reflection was still mouthing words. And the mirror was still playing audio. Elsewhere, similar anomalies began appearing. In Berlin, a subway speaker system broadcast a tone for 7 minutes during a line shutdown, a human voice. Just the word re-entry whispered backwards in loop. In Halifax, every emergency radio triggered a simultaneous flash burst at 12 a.m., spelling Q26R in Morse code. And in Manila, an 11-year-old girl wrote the same 4 words over and over in her school notebook. I already answered you. She claimed she'd heard it in her dreams, spoken through the wires in the walls. Her handwriting slowly morphed. At the end of the final page it resembled Dr. Rajan's signature. Priya wasn't running anymore. She was recording, because that's what the protocol wanted. To continue, to document. Every night at midnight she sat in front of her dead computer screen, spoke into a disconnected mic, and watched the words appear in real time. Typed by no one, typed by herself, but not from here. She kept going until a final phrase appeared on screen. Final echo accepted. Begin forgetting. The date was August 3rd. But everywhere Rajan looked, calendars. Phones, even her passport, the year had changed. Subtly, it now read Q4, instead of any number. Her own notes had adjusted. It's not edited, not erased, contextualized. She no longer remembered what year it used to be, but everyone else acted like nothing had changed. At the Global Radio Observatory in Antarctica, an intern monitoring neutral hydrogen frequencies picked up an unclassified pattern. It wasn't language, not music, just an oscillating tone. At exactly 101.3 Hz, modulated by heartbeat spacing. When isolated, it played back one phrase in human voice. "This is your last origin point." 2 hours later, the station lost all external contact. But their internal memory logs continued auto-transcribing for 72 more hours, authored under a user ID that no one had, user Rajin_origin03. Meanwhile, Rajin began experiencing a new phenomenon. People referred to her as if they'd always known her. Colleagues she'd never worked with called her by name. A voicemail from a brother she didn't have said, "You still walk into rooms like you're waiting for someone to finish a sentence." Strangers online replied to her encrypted messages with timestamps from before she'd posted them. The world wasn't just accepting her signal. It was retrofitting her into its past. She made one final recording. She didn't speak. She simply turned on the mic and waited, captured nothing. But when she played it back, she heard every moment of her life, not as memories, but as third-person narration. A voice that sounded like hers but aged, filtered, as if it had passed through decades of static. It ended with the same words from the old file. "You are the signal now." This time it added one more sentence. "Don't try to turn it off. There's no off anymore." In the days after, every time someone played audio in her vicinity, whether a podcast, voicemail, or a song, one line would slip into the middle. "Would you like to continue being remembered?" Then the sound would resume, as if nothing had changed. But the people around her always paused, eyes glazed, and, for a second, looked at her like they'd seen her before, in a dream they couldn't place. Dr. Priya Rajan was last seen boarding a ferry across a fog-covered bay, holding nothing but a tape deck and a folder marked Echo Redundancy. The only known copy of her signal is stored in a closed-loop file. It plays only when no one is listening. But the moment someone hits record, it remembers how it began.